Hi, welcome back or welcome to my channel. I'm Stephanie and I like to talk about books. Today I want to talk to you about books that I like to read during winter. Not necessarily Christmas, but winter. Some of them are Christmas themed, but most of them can be read at any point during winter, I think. Doubting that now. But hopefully this video has gone up before Christmas. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Okay, I'm doing the Ariana Grande claw today, but it's not because I'm trying to be dainty. I'm just really short, and even things that are for short people are too long on me. So, sorry about that. Yes, Colin agrees. Today I have a pile of books here, prepared to talk to you about that I like to read in winter. Now, I have read all of these books, but there is one book over here that I have not read yet, but I plan to read that over the next week or so. So I'm giving it an honourable mention. This is the stack. Now, two of them are two different versions of the same book, but they're both beautiful, so I thought I'd include them. Also, look at the little Hello Kitty. I've had this for a few years now. I can't remember when this came out actually. Might have been 2021. But yeah, so cute. This way, my super colourful jumper is Christmassy-fied. Yeah, it's a technical word. Okay, so the first book that I want to talk about is a classic, and it is A Christmas Carol and Other Christmas Writings by Charles Dickens. This is the beautiful Penguin Cloth Bound edition. I got this for Christmas from my husband maybe 7 or 8 years ago. So at the time it was $14.99 because he left the price on it. But no, it's got the RRP on the back. But I do believe that these have gone up in price now. However, they are stunning editions. Look at that, isn't that lovely? I do like these cloth-bound classics. They're just nice to read. They just feel nice. I do reread this every Christmas Eve usually, or the day before Christmas Eve if me and my husband have got something planned to do on Christmas Eve in terms of reading. We also always watch A Christmas Carol with the George C. Scott version from the 80s every Christmas Eve. It's a tradition that we do. So I double up on my Christmas Carol, sometimes triple, because sometimes I can manage to sneak the Muppet Christmas Carol in there as well, which is my favourite out of all the versions of Christmas Carol. Anywho, so I will be honest, I generally just read A Christmas Carol. I don't bother reading with the rest of them. I have read them before, but now I just tend to read A Christmas Carol. And oh yeah, this also illustrates what I was saying about why different versions of things have different numbers of pages and different thicknesses of books. So this one here, oh, was that a light? We had a big storm 1 or 2 weeks ago now, and since they haven't sorted out all the electric yet, so it keeps flickering, which is spooky. Like it. So there is a 30-ish page introduction about A Christmas Carol. It's a full-on essay with notes and references. So yeah, just to illustrate why sometimes different editions of books have different numbers of pages, particularly with the Penguin Classics versions. They usually have a bit more info in there, so it's really good if you're actually studying the book for something. Next up is another classic. It's not necessarily a Christmas book, but I like to read it in the winter, and I like to read it whenever, to be honest. It's one of my all-time favourites. I have about 17 editions of this book. The last time I counted, I think I had 17. I haven't counted for a while. Have I bought any more since then? Don't know. But this is also the winter edition from the Seasons collection that HarperCollins did with, What's the name of the company? It's a really random company name. Thomas Nelson. Yeah, I think these are the only Thomas Nelson books I ever own. But, so, it is Pride and Prejudice. I love it. I don't know, I just love to sit down when it's cold outside and get cozy with a nice cup of tea, and just sit and read if the fire's going as well. Oh, it's just so cozy. And this edition is stunning. This was from the winter collection that they did of the seasons editions, and it's actually a paper cut. So there's this hardback underneath, and then this very intricate cutting over it to give that effect. Absolutely stunning. It's got Pride and Prejudice stamped there. Jane Austen's been done in the cutout. And then there's a quote on the back and more cut out. And it's got lovely turquoisey, tealy sprayed edges. After this first 4 books in the collection came out, because they did 4 for winter, 4 for spring, 4 for autumn, and 4 for summer. I think I've done that in a weird order, but anyway, they have done them with actual covers, protective covers over them, because these ones didn't. These ones just came wrapped in plastic, and I am terrified of ripping this. So I probably do need to buy some hardback library covers or something to put on this so that I don't damage it when I'm reading it. But yeah, stunning. I love these editions. I have all of them except Little Women, because I think it was a year that the film with Emma Watson came out, and it sold out. So I have every single copy of these seasons books except for that one. And now, if you want the Little Women one, it's £700, and I refuse. I refuse. Pfft. Price gouging, that is. Resellers hate them. Sorry. That was a bit vehement, wasn't it? Right. Now, I love a good wintry thriller. This is one that I've read a few years ago. I actually have 2 more, maybe more, upstairs in my bedroom bookshelf, which is for books that I like to read, just before I go to bed, obviously. And I don't know which one I'm going to read yet. There are a few different options, but one that I read a few years ago and really enjoyed was One by One by Ruth Ware. This was about an alpine ski resort, and then some colleagues for an app, I think it's an app, all got together, and they're having like a celebration about how brilliant their their year has been, and they've made tons and tons of money, and then someone starts killing them and they die one by one. And yeah, I like Ruth Ware. I don't normally keep thrillers unless it's something that I really enjoyed or I think that it was quite unique. So I kept, for example, I have The Girl on the Train, I have Gone Girl, I have What She Left, which I might have to do a blog post or something about at some point, because that was the first book that I read that had sections of the books where it was it integrated things like Twitter messages and things like that. It's the first one that I read that was like that. Janice Howlett? Okay, sorry, my 2 reading worlds collided there between thriller and teen 90s horror. Janice Howlett and Janice Harrell. So Janice Howlett became very popular, and I think she won a couple of awards for things like The Appeal, where it was just basically the transcripts and everything from a crime case, and then the reader kind of has to solve it themselves almost. But I first saw something that sort of style in What She Left. It's on my shelf up there somewhere because I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good, and I kept that one. But generally, thrillers are books that get donated. I read a lot of them. They tend to be quite similar and quite formulaic. I particularly don't really read detective books anymore because they tend to be a series that's ongoing and nothing really changes that much in terms of the detectives. And they become very formulaic, and once you've read 3 of them, you've read them all. And so I stopped really reading those. Generally, I tend to steer clear of detectives series because I get bored very easily by them. But this was a very good snowy, wintry thriller, and it was a very pretty edition. So I kept it. Christmas romance. You've got to read a Christmas romance. And one of the best ones that I've read in recent years was by Lindsay Kelk, The Christmas Wish. This is Groundhog Day at Christmas, and it's just so charming and so lovely and so Christmassy and so British. And look at the beautiful snowflakes in there. And this is, ever wished that it could be Christmas every day? Well, wish again. Yeah, so good. So good. And it's just really cute. About a girl who she's just broken up with someone. She's gone home for Christmas, and the boy next door that she had a crush on all her life is back, and they've almost got together a few times, but it's never quite happened. And it just keeps reliving the day over and over again, and things either go wrong or they go a little bit good, but then it all goes wrong again, and she's just got to get it right. Just like in the original Groundhog Day. But I love it so much. Lindsay Kelk is one of my favourite authors. She's so funny. She's also a Doncaster girl like me. And yeah, I just love her. And as Emily Henry says, I'll read anything that she writes. Next up, we have it's the same book, but I've got 2 copies of it because they're both beautiful. So, Wintry Fantasy, The Bear and the Nightingale. This book is so good. So good. It's really difficult to describe as well. I remember that when I read the synopsis, the blurb of the first book when it came out years and years ago, and I don't know, it seemed like it was interesting, but I wasn't that enthused. And then someone recommended it to me, and I was like, okay, I put it on my list. I bought the paperback, and then I read it a few years later, and I read it and thought, but whoever did the synopsis for this book has massively underserved it, because it is nothing like I imagined it was going to be. It's amazing. It's kind of historical fiction meets fantasy with Slavic, Russian overtones, and there's also the changing of Russia into a Christian country. There's also the story of a girl who's coming of age and growing up as a free-spirited girl in a time when the church was becoming a really, really big presence in people's lives. And then there's this whole fantasy kind of side to it where death, is he death? I can never remember if he's actually full-on death or the Winter King. Essentially, winter is about things dying and being reborn, but it's just so beautiful and so hard to describe. So I'll let the person that did the synopsis for the book off, but not doing a brilliant job of it, because I can't even fully articulate what this book means and is about, but it's just wonderful. And so I'll read the synopsis actually. Beware the evil in the woods. In a village at the end of the wilderness of northern Russia, winter lasts most of the year and snowdrifts grow taller than houses. Here an elderly servant tells stories of sorcery, folklore and the Winter King to the children of the family, tales of old magic frowned upon by the church. But for the young wild Vazia, these are far more than just stories. She alone can see the house spirits that guard her home and sense the growing forces of dark magic in the woods. It's so beautiful. This is the Fairy Loot exclusive edition. That's that. And then this is the Illumicrate version. It's the first in trilogy. And look at the sprayed edges, so pretty. And I was gonna say that's the Winter King, but it's not. I think that's her. Oh, that's the priest. I forgot about him. And then inside we've got these lovely end papers. and very wintry naked hardback, and it's got a very silvery moon there. I don't know if you can see how shiny that is. Oh. And the little stars cut out. It's so beautiful. It's just, I think I kind of prefer the style of this one. It's just so vibrant, but I also really like this one because it's kind of wintry. But whichever version of the book you get, I also have the paperback, the audiobooks, and the Kindle. As I do with most of my favourites, I've got them on every format so that if I get the whim to read it while I'm out and about and have another book with it, I can access it immediately because I have a problem. This is a fantastic series. It's beautiful, it's fantasy, it's historical fiction, it's old folklore. It's just beautiful, stunning books. Highly recommend them. Next up, we've got a little bit of a random one, but it's something that I really loved as a kid, and I like to read it every now and then in the winter just to remind myself of that feeling of being a kid and reading a spooky wintry book, because it is Freeze Tag by Caroline B. Cooney. The Point Horrors. These were everything when I was little. Absolutely everything. So this one is about a game of freeze tag where one of the children in the neighbourhood, there's something a little bit weird about her, and she actually freezes people, and she's a bit evil. So, and just look at that. I love these. These were so cool. And this one, I reread this every year, usually before Christmas, and I like to watch the Sky adaptation of it as well. And it is the Hogfather, which is the Discworld spin on Father Christmas. And I love it. And in this one, Death has to take over the role of the Hogfather and deliver presents to all the children across the Discworld. And I love it. I love all the little weird characters, like the Death of Rats. The Death of Rats is just an absolute little legend. Love the Death of Rats. And yeah, it's really, really cute. I love the book. I think that the adaptation that Sky did was also just spot on accurate. And the person that they had playing Nobby Nobbs is how I see Nobby Nobbs from the Discworld series now. It's very close to how I imagined it anyway, but now I just see that actor. But I love it. It's just Christmassy. Even though it's not technically about Christmas, it's one of the most Christmassy things that I read every year, and I love it so much. It has just such a dear place in my heart, and I love these editions. These editions are absolutely stunning. I like that it's a little archway and some candles, but it's also Death's skull. And then on the back it says, "It's the night before Hog's Watch, and it's too quiet." Love it so much. If you've never read the Discworld series, start with either the Death books or the Witches. Don't start with the first book in the series, because controversial opinion, I know, but I hate that first book. The first two books, not a fan. Not a fan of Rincewind. Not a fan of the trunk with the legs. Don't like them. But Death, the Witches, the Watch, these are all my favourite characters. So finally, this is the book that I've put on the list that I haven't read it yet, but I'm going to be reading it this winter. I bought this for myself and two friends for Christmas last year, and then I just didn't get around to reading it for whatever reason. Now, I love to read children's fantasy books, so the middle grade, 9 to 12, sort of Harry Potter, Percy Jackson, that sort of age range of books. And one of my favourite authors for that age group is Sophie Anderson, and she does a lot of Slavic inspired books, stories. Her series, they're series, but it's more like they're linked books as opposed to an official series. But The House with Chicken Legs, The Girl Who Speaks with Bears. Can't remember the exact title of that, but it's The Girl Who Speaks with Bears. That series of books is wonderful. And then she's done this one, which is called The Snow Girl. And I wish the Snow Girl would come to life, then I would have a friend, a real friend I could trust, and I wouldn't feel so alone. And it just looks, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful and so wintry. And look at the end papers. And I look at this and I just feel Christmas magic. So I'm going to be reading this one this week at some point, maybe even on Christmas Day, unless I get some books for Christmas, in which case I won't be reading it on Christmas Day. I'll be reading whatever book I get for Christmas. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that I gave you some inspiration for some wintry reads, and if you've read any of them, or if there's something that you're planning to read for Christmas or that you read every winter, let me know. Yes, because I think I started this video saying it's mostly a winter rather than a Christmassy list, but I'm gonna be honest, I think that the whole of December for me is Christmas. So up until New Year's Eve, that for me, that is included in the Christmas period. So yeah, wintry / Christmas suggestions of books. But yeah, if you've got any that you really like or that you're really looking forward to reading, let me know. Do you take part in, I'm going to massively mispronounce this, but Flood, the Icelandic tradition, the Icelandic tradition of exchanging books on Christmas Eve. Me and my husband have done this for, I'd say maybe 8 or 9 years now, and it's one of my favourite things about Christmas Eve. And now we go to bed before we're planning to go to sleep, and we just take on, we swap our books, and we have hot chocolate and talk about what we're reading, and it's just magical. It's just absolutely magical. It's one of my favourite things about Christmas. But yeah, so if you have any Christmas bookish traditions, let me know in the comments. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing and going to look at any of my other videos. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a magical Christmas and a happy new year if you celebrate. And if you don't, I hope you just have a lovely time anyway.